We are talking about something very important in leadership, and that is emotional intelligence. How does emotional intelligence embodies to your leadership skills? How does it amplifies your leadership skills? And you will bear with me that leadership is not just about hitting targets. It's about building trust, understanding people, inspiring people, motivating them to get things done, or to build on their lives, to build the society, and to make a difference. And that is what we want to target in today's episode. So you might be asking yourself, why is it important? It is important because in those moments you can change someone's life. It is in that moment that you build trust. It's in that moment where you can create a change in the society, in the community. And that is what leadership is all about. So let's get into this episode. Emotional intelligence is your ability to recognize, understand, and manage your own emotions while also perceiving and influencing the emotions of others. It is very important for you to know this. It is critical because the most important component of emotional intelligence is self-awareness, self-regulation, empathy, social skills. If you understand this, it is going to play a very big role in your organization. How can this help you? How is emotional intelligence related to leadership? You will bear with me that some decisions are made based on the emotions of your team members. And if you are not able to relate with their emotions, decision making becomes very difficult. If you want to manage conflict, because there's always going to be conflict in your team, no matter how strategic you are, things are always going to pop up. There'll be pressure from somewhere, there'll be chaos, and in those moments, that is where emotional intelligence comes in. The way you perceive other people's emotion and the way you respond to it is what makes the difference. In those moments, you will see that emotional intelligence helps you to manage those conflicts, to manage those chaos, and the turnover is always going to be massive. People would high IQ or high emotional intelligence see things differently. There is a difference between your IQ and your EI when it comes to intelligence and your emotional intelligence. You will see that people who can perceive others' emotions and perceive theirs, then relate with other people. It is easier for them to lead effectively without necessarily judging, and the turnover is always positive. It is always massive if you can master it and add it to your leadership skills. Best practical framework that I've used and has helped me in so many ways is this I'm going to give to you. And before I do that, I need you to do me a favor. Double check if you're a subscriber to this channel. That helps us to grow. It enables us to reach out to more people. And if you hit that like button, it shows that what we're doing here makes a difference. Thank you for doing that. This framework has changed my life in the way I communicate with people and the way I perceive others. And I'm going to give you the way I see it, not from any textbook, not any theory. This is a practical experience. The first thing that you need to do is observe. You need to be very observant in your environment. Once you are in a meeting room, once you are in a project, you need to be very observant. What is going on? How are their emotions reacting to yours? Once you have been able to observe this, you need to pause for a moment. Pause for a moment and reflect, right? You're reflecting on what decisions you are going to make. What is it that I can do to make a difference in this scenario? Once you have been able to come up with a concrete decision, then you respond. It is in that moment where you respond based on what is going to accept by the team and what is going to be accepted by you. If it doesn't match with the communication style of your team, then you are not supposed to respond at that moment. You have to keep on reflecting on what is going to make a difference. The next thing is adapt. You need to adapt to that framework that works with you, adapt to that emotional relations that adapt with your team members. Because if you are not adaptable, it will be very difficult for you to lead your team. So where does this apply? It applies in meeting rooms. When you're sitting in a meeting, note down how are people perceiving what you're saying. You need to write these things down. You need to reflect on this because it is going to influence your decision. It is going to affect the way your project's turnover comes in. And if you don't do this the right way, you realize that so many people are drifting. The trust is no longer there. They don't seek for direction anymore. In that moment, you are not more in the leadership scheme. That is why emotional intelligence is crucial. I once read something very well that the way people perceive you determines how the outcome of what you're working on is. And if people start perceiving you as a leader the wrong way, then I'm sorry to tell you that your project is not going to work. You need to build trust. You need to build that connection. You need to inspire people. That is what leadership is all about. It is more about giving. And I put emphasis, it is about responsibilities. It is not what people think out there. Leadership is more about taking care of those who are in your charge. You need to be in charge of those things. The people that are in your charge are responsible for everything that you're working on. And if you don't take charge of them, things will go wrong for you. The best way you can apply this in real life is by doing these three things. As a beginner, you need to be more self-aware, right? You need to be aware of who you are, aware of how people react in your environment, aware of how you perceive people in meeting rooms, in school, wherever you are functioning. As a working leader, you need to be empathetic. You need to see people's emotions, their frustration. How are they feeling? How is your work affecting them? And you need to be so empathetic about that so that you can easily correlate or relate with them. As an aspiring leader, you need to be very reflective. The decisions that you are taking, how is it affecting your team? That is where emotional intelligence plays a very big role. You need to sit down, ask yourself, what decision did I make that made a difference in my team? What decision did I make that affected a team member? In those moments, that is where your leadership skills are working correctly. And I need you to understand this. As a leader, emotional intelligence is not negotiable. That is the foundation of leadership. If you don't understand emotional intelligence, it will be very difficult for you to relate with people, relate with your team members. That is the foundation of leadership. And if anything I've shared with you today resonated, if it sparked a thought, a question, or even just a feeling, then do me a favor, hit the subscribe button. And I promise you, alongside with my team, is to consistently bring you real, honest, and valuable content that helps you figure out leadership, project management, and conversation at a time. Thank you for being here.